Today's alley pick project actually began 3 years ago with this, a single yardstick. Since then, I've been collecting all of these yardsticks, which I've never paid more than $1 a piece.
Cheapskate.
My goal has always been to use these for some sort of a tabletop. Now, I plan to use these on top of this old kitchen tabletop I found and then mount it on this old Singer sewing machine base, finishing it off with a beautiful crystal clear epoxy finish. Now, I knew that this was a project whose time had come when my friend Mick, who had no clue what I was working on, asked me if I wanted this garbage can, which just so happens to have a picture on it of the exact sewing machine that I'm using for this project.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Pretty cool. I can't wait to see how this turns out. Time to get to work. The first thing I'm going to do is cut this old hardwood kitchen tabletop to the size I want. It'll be about 1/2 inch under the 3-foot length of a yardstick because I plan to wrap the edges with yardsticks also. This was found in the garbage, so I'm going to sand and clean it before I use it. I'm going to be securing all the yardsticks with a little glue and some pin nails. For the last few yardsticks, I had to measure carefully and trim down a couple just slightly in order to get them to fit perfectly. Now these yardsticks are very dirty, so I'm going to clean them using a magic eraser. What I'm doing here is putting a backer strip of wood in place, butted up against the yardstick on the underside. This way, if it gets caught on something, this yardstick won't get ripped off. Even though people will never see the underside, I'll take a few extra minutes to paint it, just to be thorough. The epoxy consists of 2 equal parts, mixed together for 2 minutes. As you mix the two, you will see some bubbles start to form, not a big deal. I use this 1/8 inch notched trowel to spread out my epoxy evenly. I'll pull it close to the edge. Once I have it close on all the sides, I'll pull the epoxy over the edge and let it drip down onto the plastic which I put underneath. Once all the epoxy is applied, I use a propane torch, or a heat gun will work too. This removes any bubbles in the surface. After drying overnight, I noticed that it needed a second coat. So I sanded it with 220 grit paper and applied a second coat of epoxy, just like I did the first time. And now for a little recap. Oh, speaking of caps, if you want to buy an alley picked cap just like this one, only a little cleaner, go to www.simpleton.com and you can look almost as cool as me. Now where was I? Oh yeah, this tabletop, check it out. I gave this a generous coat of epoxy, sanded it with 220 grit sandpaper, and then gave it a second coat, let it dry for a few days. Now it's completely dry, but the surface here, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like new shoes on a gymnasium floor. I think in this condition, it's more likely to get scratched. So what I'm going to do is give it a coat of wax using my concoction of mineral oil and beeswax. Now I've got to address the missing wheels. This sewing machine base had only 1 wheel when I bought it. I went to the Salvage One store to pick up 4 metal wheels about the same size. I took them apart and figured out a way to use them. After buffing and waxing, these look brand new. This is OSPHO, a rust treatment chemical. I apply it and let it sit overnight. After some sandpaper, some degreaser, and a good rinse, I'm ready to paint. You gotta love it when a plan comes together.